the books, understanding OPM, leverage, and this and that. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to do houses for a while. And at some point, I'm going to graduate to commercial, right? Like, that's what you tell yourself. And then as I started leasing spaces and like working with some people on the commercial side, it's like the cash flow is not nearly as attractive as you may think, potentially. At least this has been my experience, right? And I'm looking at like spaces that I've leased, including this particular space.
Uh-huh.
The amount of TI they have to do up front until they recapture the tenant improvements
Right.
is sometimes years.
Right.
So how do you deal with that long-term cash flow situation?
So number one, I have good partners.
Yeah.
So like my one partner in particular, his name's Chris down in Houston. He his background's analytics, right? He's done a lot of stuff with BP oil and stuff in the past and current actually. And he'll tell me, basically I'll say, and he'll either be a good person or a bad person. I always tell him, it's like, hey, I got this really good deal. I did the numbers and it's not so great, Josh. Oh, okay. Sounds good. We'll back out of that one, right? But he'll tell me like, hey, based on the TI, based on this, based on that, this is going to be a double or a single, or this is going to be a home run, or like, hey, we got to back out. And that really helps me out. And I would encourage anyone, and that's when I made that transition to commercial, was that who, not how mentality of, and I've had friends, believe me, that have wanted to make that transition to commercial from flipping a lot of homes, 30, 40 homes a year, but they have a hard time not letting go of 100% ownership, whereas in commercial, it's like me and a couple partners, we just hit a home run per se. We bought a property back 3 years ago in Atlanta. It's a surgical center. And we just had the tenant actually about 3 months ago tell us, hey, we want to buy this. We bought it as a 9.5 cap with 50% vacancy. So we had a lot of upside, right? Yeah. And anyways, they're buying it. We bought it for like $2.12 million, I think, dollars. And we're in a contract at 4.4,
Right.
And I'm walking away with investing like 10 grand of my own money as far as, when we first started to, I'm walking away with $300,000 or $400,000 as I think a 17% ownership. So you hear that number, you're like 17%? Like, why would you even do that deal? Well, it's because I have other partners that are doing certain things. I did my part. They're doing their part. I'm walking away with something that's cash flowing, when we close. And 2-3 years later, I'm moving now $300,000 or $400,000 here in about a month or two. We're going to close. So, you got to have that mentality of like not being 100% owner all the time.
Right. So for me, singles, doubles, we're talking, okay, that was $10,000, $20,000. What does a single, double, home run look like in your world?
I would say you think about cash flow first is, an extra $2,000 a month, I would say, is a single, and probably $2,000 each base, let's say. A home run I think is like $8,000. I mean, that's $100,000 a year on one property, right?
Right.
And very doable depending on the property and depending on how you negotiated it. Just like in real estate, we always say you make money when you buy, not when you sell. Right? Same thing with commercial. So we do the same thing, and that's where I think the piece is the appreciation piece. Or knowing that you're going to flip the property and add tenants or whatever it is, then it's kind of that cherry on top, because we don't buy properties unless it has cash flow. I know people do. I don't. And when I then sell it, I'm walking away at least with a 7-figure exit,
right?
On my ownership for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.